Welcome back to the channel, everyone. So we're out for a little stroll this evening, myself and the gorgeous blonde Susie. Yeah, we've got some updates about the project motorbike, the Daytona 650. I rode it a couple of weekends ago and I realised the handling was off and it was leaking oil and a few other minor faults. So I found a local contact at a company called Wicked Motorcycles. The guy is absolutely fantastic, so knowledgeable, so helpful. And we've taken the Daytona in there. I'm going to reveal today exactly what's wrong with the bike. It is a list. There is 2 pages. So sit down and you can have a little snigger at my expense, because if you buy a bike off Facebook Marketplace, this is what you might end up with. Okay, section 1. This is handling. So there's actually multiple sections. So this is going to get interesting. So front and rear tyre losing air at valve stems. Front tyre is 7 years old and perished with cracks. Both tyres need changing. The fork seals need replacing. Rust from the metal rings in the seals is expanding and broken the seals from the inside. The front brake master cylinder needs fixing with a new seals kit. The brake lever actually touches the handlebar, which is an MOT fail. Okay, section 2 is engine. So the engine actually overheats on this bike. So when the fan kicks in, the temperature is reading 117 degrees, and really the fan should kick in at 104 degrees. So though the Daytonas do run hot, we don't want it to be going up to 117. Yeah, the fan should kick in at 104, drop it down to 90 degrees. So it might need a thermostat, it might need a coolant flush, something like that. The coolant bottle was empty and traces of coolant were leaking from the thermostat housing. Burned coolant in the front of the bike, in the cockpit, which I didn't pick up because I can't smell anything.
I did.
Susie did, and George did. Throttle body inlet manifolds are cracked and perished. So that means we can be leaking air, making the engine run rough, making the engine run lean, causing the engine to cut out on idle. I haven't had those symptoms, probably with the exception of the throttle response. The rocker cover gasket leaks oil, so I'd seen a misting around the engine casing. This has been patched with silicone, so gaffer tape, cable ties and silicone, the kind of free amigos in bodging motorbikes. We've got all of those, to be honest. I think I cut about 25 cable ties off the bike when I first got it, but we found silicone sealant everywhere as well. So the rocker cover, I'll show you a picture of this, is leaking oil because they've basically taken the rocker cover off and reused the same sealant and just put a ring of silicone on the seal rather than replacing the seal. And the seal isn't even that expensive, so I don't know why you'd not change it. The generator gasket cover was leaking oil, which I knew about, and the crank position sensor needs a new gasket. So they don't supply those anymore, but we're going to get some made up. We're going to go for a paper gasket. The clutch lever's got loads of play in it, so it's missing a little spring or lever or something, so we'll get that replaced. The coolant hose is old and perished, and when we're talking about the coolant actually wasn't coolant, it was water. So somebody had just filled up the cooling system with water and not actual mix of antifreeze. Okay, so there was some good news about the bike. The rear suspension looks and feels okay. It's a bit soft, but I can get that set up for me so I can ride the bike as I want to. The valve clearances were within spec, so they don't need adjusting. The camshaft looked okay, so we had an acceptable level of wear on the cam. And the really good news actually is we pressure tested all cylinders, and they were all even, and they all were 190 PSI. So every cylinder is healthy. So that's really good news, because I thought the engine was quite strong, and it looks like the engine is strong. So what we're going to do is a full service of the bike, because we don't know when it was serviced last. Rebuild the forks, tighten up the handling, just new gaskets and seals all round, notably the rocker cover and the generator cover gasket. At least we're not going to leak oil. 2 new tyres, because the tyres were leaking air from the valve stem seal. I think that contributed to the poor handling. Maybe replace the chain, adjust the throttle cable. So the throttle cable is a little bit slack, so you open the throttle, nothing happens. Get a sudden jerk of power, which is not how the bike's meant to ride. Brake cylinder, we're just going to get a new seal kit and seal all that up correctly. Brakes are actually quite good on the bike, don't need new discs, don't need new pads. So that's it really. Yeah, this is a lesson to what can happen when you buy a bike from a less than reputable seller on Facebook Marketplace. And remember kids, all that glitters is not gold, as I found out. So yeah, I'm gonna show some pictures of the work. We're gonna go back into the workshop probably tomorrow, have a chat with our friends at Wicked Motorcycles and see how the project's getting along. But I'm hopeful we've kind of turned a corner on the bike now. We can get it start to roll into a nice riding and handling bike, which we can then slowly make look original. We'll end up with a nice Daytona 650. So yeah, thanks for tuning into this update to the project, and I will catch you in the next one.